How do you do? It is I, Lord Pembleton III, and today I would like to talk to you about my new burgeoning hobby. That's right, the hobby of instant photography. This, as you can see, is my new instant film camera. It is the Instax Wide 400 camera. It is absolutely lovely. Now, to give you some context, I've had an instant film camera for a while now. For about 3 or 4 years, I've had a Polaroid now Gen 1 camera that I've been using for basically just filming whenever I felt like it, but never really getting into like the hobby side of things with instant film. Only recently getting into the hobby for about, I'd like to say, the past month, and trying my best to create the best images possible, and really just having a lot of fun with my son, as he loves to be photographed with instant cameras. So yeah, overall it's just a hobby that I can share with my son, and that is an absolute bonus for me. Anytime, any hobbies I can share with my son, because he's currently non-verbal and he can't really understand too much. With the instant film, anytime he gets photoed, the film pops up and he goes hysterical over it. For him, it's the best thing ever, and that makes it so worthwhile, because it's a hobby I can share with my son, and anytime his face just lights up, it's always worth it to use up some of the pictures that aren't exactly cheap, but no, having him smile and laugh like that and go crazy over it, in my opinion, is absolutely priceless. I don't care, how many photos I have to buy with them. Just to see him like that is always absolutely beneficial, and the fact that I can share my hobby with my son is always a plus. So I need to kind of get into the crux of the video, talk about the main points. I want to talk about, sort of, first of all, my journey of why I eventually switched from using my old Polaroid now camera, which I've had for about 3 or 4 years. I had a Gen 1, and then I recently had to trade it in for a new camera, so I bought the Instax 400 wide camera, and I'll kind of explain the differences and why I believe that the Instax 400 wide camera is a good replacement, a good upgrade to Polaroid now, and really maybe other Polaroid cameras, depending on my recommendation, and really to talk about really what's the point of using instant film cameras. Why not just use something digital like your phone? You got a camera in your pocket every day. You got a digital phone, and you can, for instance, print out the pictures in a Photoshop for quite cheap. So what's the point of having that? And so to start off with my first point, anyway, I have had a Polaroid now Gen 1 for about 4 to 3 years now, and although I've dipped my toe in the waters of using instant film, I haven't really gone into the hobby side of things. Only in the past month, I would say, I started to go into the hobby side of things, and in general, I've been having a blast with it. And I originally bought the camera, the instant film Polaroid now, to take photos of my son, make it feel like much more special, and to have that fun experience with him. So overall, that definitely worked, because again, now he absolutely loves being photoed, and he goes crazy anytime the photo comes out of the camera. It's just wild for him. To go into it, so yeah, I've had issues in the past month with it, so I need to try to get it either repaired or replaced. So I go into my local photo shop, which is in Oxford, and I basically explain to them, hey, my photos are coming out as dark as possible. This looks like I'm in my room in the dark, and that is not the case. I'm actually in my room with the light everywhere, and using the flash, and trying to get the perfect angle to make everything look bright. But I didn't get that. I got an extremely dark photo with questionable quality, in my opinion, and it's just, this has happened with everything. Anytime, even if I was outside, inside, I use the brightest rooms possible, I would just get extremely dark photos, and sometimes even extreme blurry photos. This one, despite being dark, and my example for what the issue is, this is the best photo I've taken in a month. It was frustrating, you're paying £16 for 8 film. It's not exactly something that to scoff at. You're wasting a lot of money on it. So you have to make every photo count, and when no photo comes out perfectly, then it's a big problem. Sure, this is still expensive. The Instax camera is still expensive. It's £16 for 20 pieces of film, but it's much more consistent, much cheaper, and at the end of the day, provides you with a lot more experience. Sure, it's a gamble, still is a gamble, but it's a much fairer and much more balanced gamble. When the gamble is between okay and bad, and good and okay, too bad, very rarely, it's a much more acceptable return rate. Anyway, to cut a long story short, I was having issues with it, so I needed to go into the store, and they told me they can't service it. I need to either get a specialist to fix it, or the better option is just to get a new camera altogether. So I decided to trade my old camera in, my Gen 1 Polaroid, and afterwards, from choosing between either the Gen 2 Polaroid now, or the Instax White 400 camera, I decided to go with Instax, a bit also from the recommendations of the workers inside. I want to kind of describe some of the benefits that this camera has over the Polaroid now, and also talk about some of the issues with it, because although it is, in my opinion, the better camera, there are one or two things that don't exactly scale up too well when in comparison. But first of all, the first thing I want to talk about that is a lot better is some autistic qualities of as I would say. First of all, being that to turn this on, you have to just slide the lens. You got two options for lens slides. You can either go for the shorter 0.9 to 3 meter viewpoint, so anything that's in proximity of between 3 meters to 0.9 meters. The shorter cam lens is going to be a lot better, and if you want to go for much more wider shots, you just go into full amount, which is about 3 meters and farther, which makes much better for long view angles or more distant objects in general. So you get a little bit more control of that, and sliding this open and closed is a lot of fun. Another great benefit is that it uses batteries instead of a charging cable, because I've already have a charging station over here, and I'm running out of space on appliances to charge. I've got a phone, I've got tablets, I've got just in general a lot of things to charge. So reducing that amount and using rechargeable batteries, which you can get at Amazon rechargeable batteries that are really good quality for an affordable price with a good charging station, is always a plus. Get these, stop wasting your money on batteries, just get rechargeable batteries with a charging station, and you're not going to be wasting as much valuable resources such as lithium or whatever have you. You're going to be using rechargeable batteries that are going to last you a lot longer and save you a lot of money. Trust me, for this year I've gone past a lot more batteries than I would like to get through, and I always have now rechargeable batteries wherever possible. Do yourself a favor, get those. Anyway, so batteries, absolute plus. So even this really only uses a lot of power when taking photos, and it's a lot more intuitive. And also, because there's a lot more mechanical stuff, not everything is digital, like in, for instance, the Polaroid now. You get a better experience using it, and it's a lot more precise. Sometimes with Polaroid now, it will refuse to kind of shoot videos because apparently it's too close. Oh no! And to get onto that, this also comes with a sort of they call it, I think, a selfie lens or a zoom lens or something like that, This is very intuitive. You just slot it on there like that, and you can take much closer pictures. And also, it has a reflective piece there, so you can actually check out what you're taking a photo of and see roughly what it's like. But it's not perfect, in my opinion. And sometimes the margin for error becomes a lot higher with using the zoom function, from my experience. But overall, it's just a lovely piece that's not really available with the Polaroid now, because you'll get this message saying "C" on it, and it will just refuse to take photos. So yeah, a camera that refuses to take photos, lovely. And next, I want to talk about the film, because the film is the next bit of a plus, if you ask me. So with Polaroid now photos, Polaroid I-type films, you get a very inconsistent experience, and also the pictures, while you can maybe find the diamond in the rough now and again, it's just a hassle just to get good quality photos, from my experience anyway. So for instance, this one, again, you can kind of see it's the best one I've taken so far, and it's not that good. It's very much inconsistent with the color patterns on my face. And this is using also flash. So you'd expect a lot more of the picture to be lit up. Not the case. And another thing is that when you do get these photos, for instance, this is one of my son, you can scrunch these up. For instance, my son likes to scrunch up the photos, and you can do that, and it won't actually affect the quality of the picture. It might affect the stability of the picture, so, but for the most part, the picture comes out unaffected. That's great. My son did the same thing with this one, and you get a lot more imperfections. You get warping, you get ink splodges here and there, and again, not what you want out of the more expensive film. This one although feels a lot more flimsy, which gives it the illusion of being low quality. In my opinion, this one's the high quality. You get more for cheaper. £16, you get 20 pack. Meanwhile, £16 for this one, you get 8 pack. It's a no-brainer, in my opinion. So yeah, not great for Polaroid, if you ask me. Now, I'll get to kind of why this is not so great. But first of all, and my last benefit that I want to really talk about is the weight and the construction. This feels a lot more heftier, much more chunkier, even though it has a little bit more of a smaller form factor, because it doesn't protrude out so much, but it is wider in terms of its form factor. But meanwhile, the Polaroid now is very lightweight, feels very flimsy. It feels much more like a toy. It had got less moving parts in it, which is a plus, but it really is much more of a mechanism only for a roller. At least that's why I saw inside of the Polaroid. When you take out the film, it's slow it back up because it's digital. It reverts back to around the margin for 8, so you can't really keep a good track amount of film you do. And I've heard a lot of people online say that that is a negative about this camera. That is, feels cheaper because it is heavier, which doesn't make any sense. Because when I think about premium products, when I think about much more what's worth your while, I think about more chunkier, much more heavier, much more well-built kind of cameras. And this is a much more well-built camera with much more mechanisms in it, mechanical stuff instead of digital. So this feels a lot more premium, in my opinion. So yeah, I don't really get that. So I think in terms of everything, just go with the Instax ones. They are much more premium. It's a much better design. It's much more hefty. It's much more chunky. Feels much more worth the amount of money that you paid for it compared to the Polaroid. That's all I got to really say about it. Now to get on to some negatives, which I want to talk about, because I do have some negatives. This is a benefit. The flash is a benefit. It works really well. It actually lights things up compared to the Polaroid's flash, which just makes things a little bit more brighter, but this one actually brights things up. Sometimes it does a little bit of too. Sometimes the job it does is a little bit too good, but the downside is you don't really have control over the flash. It's pretty much always on. From my experience, you don't really have any control whether you flash or not. It's all pretty much always flash, which sometimes you don't want that, but again, it does a really good job, and I'd rather have something on it that actually works too good than that doesn't work at all, which is the Polaroid flash, which doesn't do anything, in my opinion. Another downside to it is that the timer is extremely sensitive, so when you move it, let's say just a little bit, let's say I want to go for the first iteration, sometimes just by accidentally exerting a little bit too much force, it will sometimes just go all the way down to the full max amount of session. Although I do like the fact that it is mechanical, it's not like a digital one, so that is, in my opinion, a plus. And finally, the last negative of the thing I want to talk about is the actual flash button, so the actual photo taking button. Now, for me personally, I would perhaps like a switch where you get to basically press down and get some haptic feedback, but really all you need to do is just a little bit like that and a little bit too much. Actually, I've taken some accidental photos by accident before, so I think if they had made this into like a proper button, they can, get some haptic feedback from, would have been a lot better, a lot more high quality, a lot more premium. But I think that's a little bit of a nitpicky point. But yeah, I would have liked to seen a better button to press. And also something that makes a little bit much more noise. I would have liked like a little tic-tac kind of button on it. I know it's the autistic design that I'm for. This doesn't have enough autistic features. Make it more autistic, alright? Make it deliver out vaccines with every shot, Turn this into a vaccine gun. Level up your autism today. So that's as far as I want to talk about the comparison between Polaroid and Instax. I think overall, if you're wanting to upgrade, you're declining Polaroid now, and you're not sure whether to get a Gen 2 Polaroid now or an Instax Wide 400. My opinion, go with the Instax Wide 400. It's a lot cheaper, it's got better film in it, and it's a much more sturdier design. It doesn't feel as much like a toy like the Polaroid does, even though Polaroid is the older, a much more pristine in name compared to the Instax. If you're going with Polaroid, in my opinion, just go with the old ones, the SLR, I think SX70 ones, the ones that actually have sonar in them and they've got all these things, but they are really expensive, about I think £500 for the best model. Not cheap. Meanwhile, this is about £130, I think, and the films are a lot cheaper than the Polaroid films. They do a better job. And although I do have a few issues here and there with it, and the fact that you don't have full control over some of the aspects of the camera, overall I think it's just a better experience. And it's, if you're going for the hobby side and you're going to shoot a lot more photos, go with this one. And not only your wallet, but also the stability of your pictures will thank you. So that's it for that. And now to talk about why even use instant film in the first place? Why not just go with your phone, for instance? It's got a camera on it. You can take digital photos. And to that I want to say, it's not the same thing, alright? It's like talking to a person online versus IRL, alright? There's a certain experience that you don't really get that you do with instant film. With phones, they're usually really clean, really crisp, and although you can try to get a filter to use it, it's just not the same. You need to have that film, you need to have the ink shot up, and you need to see the chemical exposure, everything. and finally get that one sweet pic that you've been trying to get all your life. Uh, you know, you need that photo to come out to that rush of endorphins going off in your head. You need that dopamine to hit you right where it counts. And, you know, that experience itself is just worth it, in my opinion. It's so much more intuitive than just taking a photo with your phone, a photo with your phone, and get something and have to have it printed off if you want to get it physical. And it's just not really the same, and it doesn't have the same effect. It's, you know, you don't get that chance of it going really badly. If it does, then it's probably your fault, or your phone's already starting to expire. It's not a good experience when that happens, you know. Meanwhile, this one, you know, it's kind of part of its makeup. This is the experience that you get with it. Films are not cheap; they're a little bit pricey, but in my opinion, it's a much better experience, and because it's kind of you know, a gamble whether or not it turns out right. You try to make pretty much every picture count, and this kind of makes it you know, a big time hobby because you need to figure out the best ways to get the best photos, the best techniques. It's a bit of a learning curve. Because it pops out, you get that tactical feedback, that sort of, you know, that gimmick of it that feeds you. In general, it's just a much funner experience. I don't think I enjoy taking photos as much from my phone, even though I do sometimes take pictures with my phone. But really, it's not really the same thing. You don't get as much excitement. In my opinion, that can only come with instant film. And I know that, for instance, Kodak has their instant camera, which uses paper, which is a lot cheaper. But in my opinion, it's not really the same thing. And the pictures, again, are a lot better quality. But at that point, why not just use a regular printer? Just take some photos on your phone. You know, get yourself an A4 or A3 printer, or get one of those sort of mechanisms that print out paper from your, you know, from your machine for a lot cheaper price, and you'd get pretty much the same effect at the end of the day. I don't really see the point of it compared to something that's film, where you know you have a chemical pouch and it shoots up the ink, and you have to expose it, and in the end you don't know how it's going to look out. But once you get that perfect photo, that picturesque, dreamlike photo, it's worth it. It's an art form, really. That's really what instant film is. It's an art form. You need to try it out. If you want to get into it, my recommendation: get yourself an Instax, even a mini Instax camera, or if you do want to go for wide format, go with this one. I know that again the 300 model is apparently an upgrade because it's got more control systems in it. But this one's much newer, and I don't know. I don't feel like messing around with the control systems too much. I just want really an experience where I get to go, point and shoot, and get some results back at the end of the day. I know some people find disappointing that is not a direct upgrade. That is something groundbreaking and revolutionary that you've been waiting for 10 years for a greater product, and you get this. But I don't think that's for that. I think this is a good trade for instance, existing Polaroid users to you know, tip their toes into the water, see if they enjoy it, and you know, get into using Instax instead. And to me, that's just what it did, and it succeeded in it by being overall a better product and more affordable product because you don't have to waste so much money on film. Even though it still is expensive. But anyway, that's besides the point. I might try to get into, for instance, a 35mm film now that there's some, I think, what was it, the Pentax 17, which uses half frame 35mm film. I might try that, see how it goes. I will also be documenting my journey with instant film and photography in general. I think that could be fun. So yeah, if you like, that's all for today, folks. If you like this video, like and subscribe. hit the notification bell for more of my videos. I do a wide range of different videos. And that's about it. Thank you. Bye. Ta-ta, my chapos. I love you all. Mwah.